what they call me. Promise that you never be alone.
What up, though? I am Fontaine the Titan. Peace to the fam, and if you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We're about to get back into the laws of Tehuti, the 7 Hermetic principles, this universal laws that govern everything, and that if you not aware of these laws and not trying to master these laws, then next thing you know, you're going to be running around here in the daze, in the trap, in the whole mind warp of what this outside world, this physical existence is given to you, and there's ways to be able to get beyond that. And these 7 universal laws are one of the foundations of being able to get past all of that, right? So we getting into the law of rhythm here, right? So understanding the law of rhythm, very, very easy. However, can also be very, very complex. So we go break it down piece by piece so that the complexity of it can turn into something real simple, so you could be able to get ahead of these rhythms. And actually what we go get into is a higher understanding of learning how to really get beyond these rhythms and not have these rhythms affect you, and how to really create your own rhythms and break these rhythms that you get wrapped up in, okay? Because most people don't understand when they say the law of rhythm manifests into everything. I mean absolutely everything, right? So we go get into the Kybalion here, right? 7 Hermetic principles by the 3 initiates. Of course, you should already have one of these books by now. If not, go ahead and get one. But, of course, we ain't go read every single word of this. We go get to the meat of it so that we can get a higher understanding, right? It says here, the great 5th Hermetic principle, the principle of rhythm, embodies the truth that in everything there is a manifested, a measured motion, a to and from movement, a flow and inflow, a swing forward and backwards, a pendulum-like movement, a tide-like ebb and flow, a high tide and low tide between the two poles manifested on the physical, mental, and spiritual planes, right? So remember, on the law of correspondence, you got to understand that there's the physical plane, the mental plane, and the spiritual plane. We're going to show how the laws of rhythm affects you on every single level, and how to get past it, right? And what the ramifications are on each level of these rhythms, right? It says, the principle of rhythm is closely connected with the principle of polarity described in the preceding chapter. Rhythm manifests between the two poles established by the law by the principle of polarity. This does not mean, however, that the pendulum of rhythm swings to the extreme poles, for this rarely happens. In fact, it is difficult to establish this extreme polar opposites in the majority of cases, but the swing is ever toward first one pole and then the other. So you got to go back and review the law of polarity, right? And remember, on the law of polarity, we was understanding about how you don't have to be on one side of the pole. We understanding the emotional side of things, right? Understanding that mental transmutation, right? Going from hate to love, or going from hot to cold. But you can't turn cold into love, for example. Everything has its own plane on its own polarity scale. And we all have our own polarity scale based on our own perspective. Perspective is key, right? So when you get the understanding of polarity, then you understand where these rhythms flow into. Because, we say all the time, positive vibes only, stay on the high level of frequency, all is love and peace, peace, peace. But you don't feel like that all the time. And the reason why, regardless of how positive you try to remain, is because the law of rhythm is in play. You're going to automatically swing to and from these emotional states. It's just built into the law. But how do you get past that? We're going to get into how you get past that. It says there's an action and reaction, an advance and a retreat, a rising and a sinking, manifested in all of the airs and phenomena of the universe. Suns, worlds, men, animals, plants, minerals, forces, energy, mind, and matter, yes, even spirit, manifest this principle of rhythm. The principle manifests in the creation and destruction of worlds, in the rise and fall of nations, in the life history of all things, and finally in the mental states of man, right? So if you haven't done so already, go ahead, get you this ancient future book, right? So in the law of correspondence video that I did, I showed you a whole heap of rhythms, right? A whole heap of rhythms that play out in cosmically and on the physical level. And we understand even from the basics of going from, like I say, winter, summer, spring, fall, and so on, that, we see how rhythm manifests. What I like about this ancient future book is it gives you a historical understanding of each of the 7 principles, and you're going to have to really get into this law of rhythm chapter because he breaks it down all the way down, going from how it went from one rise and fall of a nation to another in every single type of degree, cosmically, going back to a whole bunch of ancient stuff, you know what I'm saying, I ain't even about to get into right now because I don't want to focus on that part of the law of rhythm. But if you want to get some historical context, 100, this is the book to get. I'm telling you, really changes the whole game of having an understanding of how the law of rhythm works, really how all of the laws work, right? So when we get into the law of rhythm, right, and we understand in all of these other rhythms, we got to be able to see how these rhythms work, right? Economically, right? Everybody remember the so-called crash of the housing market in 2008. If you look historically, every 20 years or so, the housing market crash, right? That is a rhythm. That is a rhythm that is always going to happen. And if you smart about it and you went to that real estate game and all of that, you could be able to make money just based off of the law of rhythm, just acknowledging that rhythm. People make plenty money, whole heaps of money on the stock market off that same principle. Just understanding when companies are going to rise and when they're going to fall, when to get in and when to get out, when to buy and when to sell. These is all rhythms, right? We get caught up in things like who the president is. Everybody mad at Donald Trump now, right? So, but of course, we all understand that Democrats and Republicans is all the same polarity scale, and the whole goal is you don't even have to be involved in that. But for the people that are involved in the whole political thing and wondering what Donald Trump doing and all of that stuff, what people got to understand is historically it goes from good president to bad president to good president to bad president based on the perspective that they trying to put out here for you. So for example, y'all go back to Ronald Reagan. A lot of people thought Ronald Reagan was a great president. They got him as out here as a legacy as being one of the great presidents. After that, you had the first George Bush. And everybody didn't like that George Bush. Guess what? They brought in Clinton, right? Clinton made everybody happy. Everybody thought Clinton was that deal. Then guess what they did? They brought back in the next George Bush. Everybody hated that George Bush, but they let him ride it out. Then guess what? They give us who? They give us Obama, right? Everybody loved Obama. And then now guess what? They give us Donald Trump, right? Why? Because they got a 8-year max or a 2-term max, 4 years each for the presidency, based on the fact that they know that they can switch up that rhythm, that pendulum swing back and forth. And as long as they keep y'all arguing about Democrat and Republican, they go have y'all on a pendulum swing worrying about a bunch of actually nonsense politically when everything else around is in its own rhythm within itself, right? So you got to understand all the way around mentally what they got us going through, right? So on the physical aspect, we could see a lot of rhythms play out, right? But deeper on the physical aspect, let's get into knowing thyself, right? Knowing thyself. Where are we at? Where are you at as an individual within your own spirit, your divine spark, and who you really are on your own rhythm, right? Yes, we all have these rhythms. It all goes up and down. If you got a business, you got your good months, you got your bad months, right? You got your good years, you got your bad years. Even millionaires will look up and say, I ain't made as much money as I made last year, and then the next year come around, they back up. Everybody goes through it. You have your ups and your downs, right? Physically, right? Physically, when it comes to something like, let's just say heroin addiction, right? Heroin is addiction is a great example of the law of rhythm manifesting on all three planes, right? Because as we said, you got the physical plane, the mental plane, and the spiritual plane, right? So on the physical plane of heroin, right? Let's just say you shooting up, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever. It ain't necessarily got to be heroin. You could be addicted to gambling, you know? Every week you get your check, boom, you at the casino. That's a rhythm. You can't wait to get paid. Every week you're going to get paid and you taking that money down the casino when you gambling, right? Or or you might even have a shoe addiction. Every week you got to go get them new pair of J's, or if you a young lady out there, you got to go get that new Bourbon bag, or you got to go get that new Gucci bag, or whatever it is y'all buying nowadays, in your concept of what you got going on within your rhythm, right? So, but let's get back to heroin as the primary example here, right? You on heroin. You trying to get off. Well, I hope you ain't on heroin trying to get off. But if you on heroin trying to get off, right? The first thing that happens is you go through what? You go through withdrawals, right? These withdrawals are a process of your body wanting that drug, right? That physical addiction, right? So now your body craves that drug, so now you get sick, right? So what happens is that as you're trying to get off, you got to get you some more smack to be able to even function now. That became part of your rhythm of how you even functioning out here, right? But let's just say you get past that, right? Boom, you get past that. You roll on over. You done with heroin, right? You done with the withdrawals. You done went to rehab. You good. When you come out of rehab, then guess what? The first thing you got to do is bend the corner and you got to ride right past the dope man. You see what I'm saying? You got to ride right past this guy. And what happens? Boom. Now it's on the mental plane. Just that visual. That dope man has now become a symbol of your addiction, right? That symbol mentally is not going to take you to a place of, damn, I remember that feeling that I used to get physically when I used to do that stuff, right? So now you got a choice mentally on what you want to do, right? But it's a thought form that has now been created, right? We know that thought forms are one of the aspects of energy transferring, right? As these thought forms that you think of, they go out, they become back, they become energies that feed off of you, right? So spiritually, there's a rhythm, right? That spiritual energy, and this neither negative or positive or good or bad, it ain't right or wrong, it's just energy. It's just going to do what it do. And this energy is so used to coming feeding off of you from you doing all of that heroin that it's coming and tapping you on the shoulder just because you didn't have that mental thought form. And now it comes back to you, hey, don't you want to do it? So now, how do you change that mental aspect? How do you stop yourself from thinking about getting high? You know what I'm saying? Look, dig, this is serious stuff. But mentally and spiritually is where it really takes the game of being able to transcend through the law of rhythm, right? So we go get back into the Kybalion, right? Okay? We read a little bit more. We're about to get into the transcending part of this, the science part of really taking it to the next level of getting past the law of rhythm, right? It says this principle of rhythm is well understood by modern science and is considered a universal law as applied to material things. But the Hermeticists carry the principle much further and know that its manifestations and influence extend to the mental activities of man, and that it accounts for the bewildering successions of moods, feelings, and other annoying and perplexing changes that we notice in ourselves. But the Hermeticists, by studying the operations of this principle, have learned to escape some of its activities by transmutation, right? So you got to keep in mind, everything is mental transmutation built into all of the laws, right? And this is this law of rhythm right here. It says the Hermetic masters long since discovered that while the principle of rhythm was invariable and ever in evidence in mental phenomena, still there were two planes of its manifestation so far as mental phenomena are concerned. they discovered that there were two general planes of consciousness, the lower and the higher. The understanding of which fact enabled them to rise to the higher plane and thus escape the swing of the rhythmic pendulum which manifested on the lower plane. In other words, the swing of the pendulum occurred on the unconscious plane and the consciousness was not affected. This they call the law of neutralization, which I like to call the law of not giving a fuck. You got to stop giving a fuck. I'm going to explain. Let me read a little bit more. It says, its operations consist in the raising of the ego above the vibrations of the unconscious plane of mental activity so that the negative swing of the pendulum is not manifested in consciousness. What they're saying is, let's just say going back to that heroin addiction, right? You riding by the dope man. Instead of having a mental focus on the dope man, you could ride right past him if you have your intention, your mind focused on something else, right? So let's just say you decide to get into art, start drawing, you start want to write stories, or you want to start taking care of kids at the shelter or whatever. You let that become your new focus, while even though you done sink the dope man and you still have that unconsciously, then let that roll right past you because you didn't change your intention, you didn't change your focus, you didn't rose above the pendulum swing of that energy, right? It says its operation consists in the raising of the ego above the vibrations of the unconscious plane of mental activity so that the negative swing of the pendulum is not manifested in the consciousness and therefore are not affected. It is akin to rising above a thing and letting it pass beneath you. The Hermetic master or advanced student polarizes himself at the desired pole and by the process akin to refusing to participate in the backward swing, or if you prefer, a denial of its influence over him. He stands firm in his polarized position and allows the mental pendulum to swing back along the conscious plane. All individuals who have attained any degree of mastery accomplish this more or less unknowingly and by refusing to allow their moods and negative mental states to affect them. They apply the law of neutralization. They apply the law of not giving a fuck. You can have somebody, let's just say you at your job, right? You at your job and you got a boss that's riding you strong, always on your back, right? Always telling you what you done messed up on, what you need to do, is you back from your break, whatever, you know? You can apply the law of neutralization, right? Instead of being mad and angry that you got a boss that's riding you, you can change your mental concept of what's going on and be like, hey, a job ain't nothing but work. If they go tell me to stand over there, I'll just go stand over there. They tell me to go do this, I'm going to just go do it. You know, and you keep it simple for yourself by not even getting involved mentally in what somebody else doing on the outside of you. Now you're not even angry at work. You ain't even worried about your boss riding you. You just in your own zone, in your own focus. This ain't nothing but a job. You stop giving a fuck about the job, particularly based on how they treating you up in there, and you go in there with a different mindset, like, hey, this ain't nothing but work. This ain't nothing but a job. So not every single day you ain't at work mad all the time because now your boss or manager or whatever you want to call them, they said, go do this, go do that. And you like, this ain't my job. That ain't my job. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Change your perspective of it and then you rise above it, right? So what they talking about when they saying put your polarity and you put your polarity into a positive state, when that negative swing comes, when your boss come, you ain't even worried about it. All you worried about is, I'm getting paid Friday. This job ain't nothing but work. And he's still coming and bothering you, but guess what? You thinking about the club, where you about to be going, what you about to do, not focused on how they acting towards you, right? So if you ignore it enough, it'll go away too. That's the whole science about it. You know, you can really transmute all your energies in a certain type of way, right? So let's get a higher understanding of this, right? Because what we got to talk about here is the will, right? Let me get into this. It says, where is it at? It says, an understanding of the workings of this principle will give one the key to the mastery of these rhythmic swings of feelings and will enable him to know himself better and to avoid being carried away by these inflows and outflows. The will is superior to the conscious manifestation of this principle. Although the principle itself cannot be destroyed, we may escape its effects, but the principle operates nevertheless. The pendulum ever swings, although we may escape being carried along it, right? So keep in mind, they said the will is superior to the conscious manifestation of this principle. So what is the will, right? Because what happens is when the going gets tough, people quit, right? When the goings get tough, people quit. When times get hard, people don't turn lemons into lemonade. People simply those lemons and they eat them. They don't do nothing with them. When times is hard, people fall. Pressure what? It either creates diamonds or bust pipes. We used to play Madden back in the day and be 4th and goal, about to kick that winning field goal. And all you got to do is get into somebody's head and boom, that pressure will bust them every single time. You know what I'm talking about here. When you under pressure, a lot of people crack because a lot of people don't understand that rhythm is going to come back to something good anyway. And so you get people out here who commit suicide because they get stuck in depression. They get wrapped up in depression and it's a rhythm. They don't know that it's about to come back good. And then next thing you know, they done took themselves out the game. And, that's just unfortunate that it happens to people because they don't have a higher understanding of the principle of rhythm. The only thing that's consistent out here is change. Things are always going to get better. And even if they get worse, they go get better. This is a part of, what they would call a concept of karma, and we're going to get into concepts of karma in another video, but what I'm really talking about is understanding that pendulum swing is going to go back and forth regardless. So if you get stuck on a negative polarity and not understanding that it's going to swing back, you can really damage your own self and you can lose your will to be able to get out here and really create your magic. Because at the end of the day, what this is all about is creating the magic for yourself to be able to create your own reality for yourself. So in this physical existence, of course, we living in what you call a matrix, the illusion or whatever. You got people giving energy to the so-called Illuminati. You got people out here manifesting, thinking that they manifesting something good, but got the wrong type of intentions behind what they're trying to do, getting their manifestations coming back at them in a bold way. And so let me get into this real quick. Let me read this off to you, right? I think this is very interesting, very, very powerful, because what the people don't understand is that your will is a big part of you being able to create your own reality. The aspect of not giving up and your intentions, okay? Because once you rise above these rhythms, right? It's your intentions, your focus, right? You got people out here who will make a whole heap of money doing something that they love, and they never get caught up in the rhythm of whether they're making money this month or not making money next month because they doing something that they love, so the money don't matter. And if you're living in abundance and prosperity and you embodying those energies go continue to feed off of you. If you vibrating on a negative aspect of energy, then those energies go feed off of you. And they go come at you in the same rhythm that they always come at you. The same way you got to get up and go to work every day is the same way these rhythms go come and holler at you. But you can change the dynamic of how you interact with these rhythms and rise above them, right? And so the law of neutralization, the law of not giving a fuck. You got to stop giving a fuck about the stuff that got you swinging back and forth. And this is on the real because the media mind control and the mind control that they actually got out here is particularly designed to have you out of your mind. It's particularly designed to have you swaying back and forth. Mad at this, mad at that, sad at this. Having empathy over here. Oh, what if that was me? What if that was my son? And all of this. And all of this doing is just distracting you from your own personal focus and your own will to be able to create for yourself, right? So let's get into this. It says, and this is out of the book, right? Instant Magick, Ancient Wisdom, Modern Spellcraft by Christopher Penzak. That's how you pronounce his name, right? But this is very, very interesting because when we talk about getting above the rhythms and knowing that the will is superior, right? So it says, intention is the focus of your will, your primal energy used to create. Will relates to the element of fire and the ritual tool of the wand. The magic wand directs our will. Fire is the spark of creation, the spark of life within us. It is the divine, godlike essence, right? That's the will, right? As the divine force is a creator, we are two partners in that creation process. This divine force is the fire that fuels your creation. If you don't know how, where, or why you are directing your will, you will never get the results in magic that you desire. Most people are not clear in their intentions, so their will is often thwarted, and they see no other options in life and feel out of control, victimized, or at the whim of fate. An understanding of will and intention is what separates magic workers from the ordinary people. We all have the same potential. We all create our own lives, our own realities. Those who do magic are simply more educated and active in working with their inborn gifts. They are conscious of their creations, right? So that's the whole point. A lot of people, soon as something go bad, they give up. They don't put their full energy. They don't put their full will. They don't put their full intention into anything that you do, right? So, you got to give yourself your own personal encouragement to know that you can do anything, regardless of where that rhythm swing is at. Because when things is going good, of course, you cocky about it, You feel like you can do anything when things is going good. But as soon as you hit some points of adversity, what are you going to do? That's when a lot of people fold out here. That's when people allow that rhythm to come and get them into a depressive state, get them into an angry state, get them into a sad state, and then you can get stuck there. And then you give up because your will is a big part of you being able to manifest. Keep in mind, we're talking about the law of mentalism at its core here, right? The all is mind, the universe is mental. So if we understand that everything is a mental construct, we cannot let this law of rhythm affect us mentally, right? So the first three laws of the Hermetics, right? The law of mentalism, the law of correspondence, and the law of vibration are what you call the immutable laws, right? It ain't nothing you could do to break them. Ain't nothing you could do to stop them. Those are the ones that are etched in stone, as they say, and it's nothing you can do about them. They are always in play that you cannot mess with, right? Untouchable, unfuckwittable. That's what I like to say, right? But when you start getting into the law of polarity, into the law of rhythm, you start to get an understanding of how you have control more to be able to transmute your energy and be able to take things to different levels, right? So once you start getting on higher planes of thinking and understanding mentally, that spiritual energy of all the good stuff go come back and feed off of you. So even when you want to rhythm and playing of something that we would consider negative or bad or lower vibration, right? You can get on a higher plane by not giving a fuck. That's all you got to do. Stop giving a fuck. Stop giving a fuck about whether or not what somebody else doing out here, whether they like you or not, right? Focus your goals and your intentions on something higher. You feel? So, for example, like this, right? Me and my homeboy, we was having a discussion, and we was talking about the concept of falling in love, right? So, higher understanding, most people that feel about falling in love, they don't feel like they have a choice, right? But the same way you fall out of love and into love is the same rhythmic swing. So falling in and out of love within itself is a choice mentally. That's a choice that you decide to do, right? So what happens is that somebody falls so deep in love that they can't get out of the rhythm when that other person does something or do something to make them feel that they not in love no more, then they fall over here into a depressive state, and mad state, an angry state. But you don't have to fall that way. You can be like, oh, okay, this is a mark on my journey. I learned a whole bunch of lessons from out of that, and I'm gonna keep it moving and have a higher understanding of what love is, right? And understand that that's a choice. You don't have to even be on that rhythm of thinking that you've fallen in love. And that's why a lot of people jump in and out of relationships so fast and so strong, because they fall in love with somebody over here, that person break their heart, then they swing way over here. And then now they so messed up over here, they meet the next person, and then they fall in love again over here. And they find out that this ain't the right guy or girl, and then guess what? They fall right back over here into another rhythm. And it's like, why you keep on? That's why you end up with 4-5 baby daddies out here, because you wrapped up in the rhythm. You see what I'm saying? It's real simple out here on how all of this go. If you get a higher understanding, it manifests into everything, this law of rhythm. But by understanding the law of neutralization, you will be all right. The way you break that law of neutralization, break that law of rhythm, you get on a higher plane. You're getting tired of falling in and out of love. Guess what? Focus on your career. It's a lot of women out here that became masters at that. You know, like, I'm tired of these niggas. I'm about to just go to school and take care of my son, you know? And that's what they do. They'll be single for some years, but guess what? They ain't on that rhythm of getting their heart broke and getting in love and falling back out of love. And at the end, they accomplish something based on their will and their intentions, right? And then they end up building their personal self up so high that now when they get into the next situation, it's whether or not they go get on that pendulum swing or not. But at least they got even an understanding on an ordinary person level that you can transcend these laws of rhythm. Change your focus. Change and focus your will, your intention on what you're really trying to manifest out here. That's where the magic happens. The magic happens mentally. And the only way that you are able to do your magic in true manifestation, to be able to really produce the results that you want, is that you got to get out of these rhythms. How can you really manifest something if you in a bad rhythm, right? So if you're not into those rhythms, you transcend beyond them. That puts you in prime position to manifest everything that you want, right? So once again, that's the law of rhythm. Law of rhythm, right? It's also the law of rhythm also has the law of compensation wrapped into it. Got a whole bunch of elements that we can go into. And like I say, in this Ancient Future book, I highly recommend you go get it, because like I say, historically you can break down a whole heap of things. With that being said, I'm staying successful, peaceful, prosperous, and healthy. Moving on to higher levels, not getting caught into these rhythms. Understanding that as a Titan, I control these energies. I'm above these energies. And I bend the universe to my will, right? A lot of people out here be like, oh, I'm going to give what the universe go give me. I'm going to ask the universe. You know how many energies are out there in the universe? And you just go ask the universe to give you something randomly? Ain't no telling what type of energy you go have coming back at you. You better take control of the energies and demand, using your will and intention, what you really want out here. Because other than that, you're going to be on a pendulum swing of whatever rhythm that's coming to feed off of you spiritually. Got to get out of these rhythms. Get into a higher level. The law of not neutralization. The law of not giving a fuck. Let's start not giving a fuck, right? Let's not give a fuck in the most positive way. You know, because based on the law of polarity, right? You have something negative going on, you transmute that energy to something positive, you know the pendulum swing go come back left. So now what you got to do is, boop, get off that polarity scale, boop, the law of not giving a fuck, the law of neutralization. The law of neutralization sits up here. You got the polarity scale here, you got the law of rhythm doing this, and all you got to do is take yourself and put yourself above it. Boom. Just as simple as that. Very complex stuff, but also very easy. But the key is your mental state. Being able to recognize your thought forms, right? Because if you're not recognizing your thought forms, then that's when those energies come and feed off of you, right? And I think I read this little part for you before, but if I haven't, I'm going to go ahead and read it again, right? Right here. Where is it at? Yeah. Yeah, did I lose the page? Maybe so. Maybe so. But it was something dope. Something dope about your thought forms. Your thought forms. Where is it at? I ain't about to get off of this. It says thought forms are the building block of spells. They are simply packets of energy directed by your will. An altered state of consciousness allows you to sense and manipulate energy. Through using your will, you gather your packet of energy, right? Either literally in your hands or in your mind's eye. Focusing on your clear intention for the spell, you imprint your intention into the energy. Though such energy packets consist of a variety of energies, they are called thought forms because your thoughts, your intentions rule them. Your intention is like a computer program. The energy moves to fulfill the instructions of your thought form to the best of its ability, like a computer running a code, right? So that's what your intentions are for, directing your will with your intentions through your thought forms, right? So that's why when you're manifesting, you want to be doing it at a high level, right? Because for example, like this, let's just say you want a car, right? If you want a car for the wrong reasons, to try to stun on folk, right? So you can try to skirt out, you know what I'm saying? Or you jealous, right? Your homeboy got a new whip, you jealous of him, now you want you a new whip. So you manifesting out of anger and jealousy, right? So what happens is when you finally get that car, because you had all of these negative energies in your creation of that manifestation of that new car, guess what? When you get that car, it's going to keep on getting broken into. Somebody go take your rims and your tires. You go keep on getting into all types of drama. Somebody go break out your windows. Your engine go out, right? You'll have all these problems with this new car because you manifested it in the lower vibrational energy, and now all of that is going to come within your manifestation. So now if you got your intention for getting this new car on the opposite polarity scale, you getting this new car because you want to go see your mama, right? You know, because you want to be able to handle your business, right? Because you on a higher level of thinking and you understand that it ain't nothing but an automobile, and that you manifesting this not be for the sake of stunting on nobody, but be so you could actually really have reliable transportation and be on a high level to be able to do the things that you need to do. And then now when you get that car, it's going to perform for you in the exact way that you need it to perform based on your intentions and that good energy being put into it. It's some very powerful stuff. That will and intention, mentally, got to get involved in that to really understand how you manifest magic on the higher level. And even if you ain't, like I say, even if you're not doing formal magic, it's just the idea of where you are mentally in your manifestation process, right? And it's about, like I say, getting past the rhythms, you know? Let me continue. It says, in magic, we create intentional thought forms with specific purposes. And that's what I was just saying. Specific purposes for your intentions and your magic. When they complete their purposes, they have used up their energies, and any remaining energy breaks down harmlessly to its basic components. Some of these thought forms can be crafted into semi-permanent constructs that can be periodically recharged, such as a thought form designed to protect your home, right? So trust me, we get into putting your consciousness, putting your intention into deities and other things, and being that, you know, the sage that you burned around your house and all of that. That's what this is all about, using these energies to empower your whole existence, right? And like it says, even if you don't do magic formally, you can unconsciously create thought forms. Our hopes, dreams, and wishes can create helpful thought forms, much like an unconscious spell. Unfortunately, many people focus on the problems in their lives and continually create and recharge harmful thought forms that broadcast feelings and thoughts about unhappiness, shame, fear, and anger. These thought forms eventually become the block in the person's energy system that can manifest as mental, emotional imbalance, and even physical illness. This is real hardcore stuff. This is real deep stuff, because most people, when they start looking at depression and anger and bipolar disorder and everything that the doctors prescribe people to be or whatever, a lot of people take that and they internalize it. And now, because they've been told they bipolar one time, they have now taken that as they got bipolar disorder. They've been depressed one time, the doctor diagnosed them with depression, and now they get wrapped up in energy of depression based on a suggestive thought that somebody else gave them. In actuality, you don't even have to conform to none of this stuff, right? So be careful of what you think. Be mindful of your thoughts. Monitor your thoughts. Anytime that you get into a negative thought or have that negative thought form feeling like it's processing, go back to your mantra, right? We're talking about breaking these rhythms here, right? I've been doing my mantra so long, every single day, all day. I'm successful, I'm peaceful, I'm prosperous, I'm healthy, that I don't have no negative thoughts all day long. And everything that I do, everything that I say, I know is going to manifest because my will and my intention is focused on directing my energy that way. And there's no negative swing of the pendulum. If there is, I ain't noticed. I'm just in my own world, just keeping on creating and creating and creating. Some real hard-hitting stuff, some real powerful stuff that is, if you get into these laws and you start to master them, it will change your life. It's not something that you're going to read one time and then be like, oh, I got it. Once you start really understanding it and start using it in your life will change for the better. Spiritually, mentally, and physically on all three planes. But with that being said, I am Fontaine the Titan. You can go ahead, like, subscribe, share, whatever it is you're going to do. And see y'all on the flip side. Peace.